Hello there, dear listener. We hope you're enjoying this lovely discussion. If you're not already aware, this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio, a Pan-African Nationalist and Garveyite network come to showcasing the rich and varied thoughts of African people. We have an exciting lineup of shows that we think you'll enjoy, including
the Bitter Medicine Podcast.
I think black people require too much buy-in. Like, we constantly have to sell black people on things that are beneficial to black people.
The Pro-Black Perspective Podcast.
I'm fearful that our people are not really studying how to get ahead, and we're kind of, continually staying behind.
The Harsh Reality Podcast.
To me, it don't matter. I think people are so dumbed down. It wouldn't matter what you reveal to them. They still are in the matrix. They're in the simulation. They're going to keep doing what they did. They lemmings. So to me, it don't matter, man.
The Learning Curve Podcast.
Sexual access has never given you economic empowerment. The only person who has ever been economically empowered by a sexual relationship is the wasp and his woman.
The Cathedra Cheek Show.
When we start rising up to fight for our own, I guarantee you they'll stop doing what they're doing. I guarantee you they would have let their brother go. They was waiting to see what black folks was going to do.
Brother Bakari Podcast.
Black people love to claim folks that hate them, right? They're a slave master, and they are ashamed of who they really are.
The Forecast Radio.
Like, if you pray to the same deity as, like, your enemy, and that God blesses your enemy more than you may want to reconsider who you praying to,
And Tanzan, African Mind.
Africans generally are welcoming of everyone. Sometimes, to my consternation, I think that they should be less, welcoming.
If you love our podcast network, we would be grateful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website at www.kwazradio.com for more information. Thank you for tuning in. And now, back to the program.
Shit, I was just thanks to our matron. I was just it's a good thing. I was just saying to myself, maybe I was giving too much information. I'm like, maybe I was just giving too much information. Maybe I should not play this recorded. And sure enough, I wasn't being recorded, so that's good. I tell you, I'm too blessed to be stressed. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Okay. But all right, yeah, true. Thank you, our matron, for that. I would have been talking the entire without saying nothing. All right, so let's go back to the thing. All right, so what I was telling you guys about was this. All right, let's start off from the beginning. So the Public Relations Council is necessary to social work. Okay, and since social work by its very nature can continue only by the means of voluntary support of the wealthy, it is obliged to use propaganda continually. Now, I did want to highlight this, but let's just finish the sentence. The leader in social service were among the first consciously to utilize propaganda in the modern sense. Now, again, like I was pointing out, I mean, you guys didn't hear it, but what I was pointing out earlier was the voluntary support of the wealthy. Now, this statement he made in 1928 was before income tax was a thing. Now, income tax is not a global phenomenon, okay? But before income tax was a thing, the only way you would get social service was if you were to appeal to the wealthy, okay? If you were to tell the wealthy, you know, to voluntarily support. Now they involuntarily support, right? And they are trying to pull away their support from social services, especially social services for you. But again, you really got to think to yourself, why should a white man support you? You understand? Why would a white man voluntarily support you? You know, that shouldn't even make any sense in your mind. Now, if you want to force him to involuntarily support you, of course he's going to be angry because he would not voluntarily support you. You know? You're not a slave. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were an enslaved population, of course he would voluntarily because he's getting something from you. But if he's not getting nothing now, of course, that's not what I was talking about. What I was talking about was I have this friend. She's in Tanzania, right? Beautiful woman. Okay? Beautiful woman. Here's the thing about her, though. Right? She does interior design. Okay? She does interior design, and she doesn't have the certification. So what does she do because she doesn't have the certification? And the certification costs a pretty penny. Okay? Because you got to go to school, and you know, taking classes is not cheap. So she hits up what she believes is her rich American friend. Now, I'm not a rich. Okay? I'm not rich. Okay? I mean, obviously, you know that. If I were rich, you know, there'd be 500 people in this room. Not, you know, I wouldn't be taught. I wouldn't know not to. You know, I'd have the AI tell me so on and so forth. Tyler's here. Tyler, shout out to Tyler. Peace and abundance of blessings. Yeah, why not? Too blessed to be stressed. But here's what I'm saying, right? Because I'm not rich. I don't have to. I mean, like, I'm not rich, but she thinks I'm rich, which is fine. Okay? So she hits me up like, hey, you know, I just need a little bit of money. And it's a lot of money. But I just need a little bit of money to finish my education. Right? And I'm just like, wait. I don't got that kind of bread. But I could do you something better. Show me your social media. Right? Show me your Instagram. She sends me her Instagram. Okay? She does interior design. Now, again, she's a beautiful woman. Okay? Beautiful woman. Her Instagram is just pictures of interior design. Not interior design. No, of just pictures of rooms that she's designed. The end result. So basically just beautiful interiors. That's it. Sometimes she doesn't even say, you know, oh, contact me or anything like that. Sometimes she has some quirky quotes like, you know, I didn't know how to match colors before. Or some stupid like that, right? The point is this, though. It is not appealing. Okay? It is not appealing. And worse, this is a beautiful woman. Okay? So, I'm not saying, you know, sex sells. I'm saying, no, I had to give her a lecture and I tell her, look, what Malcolm X said, what Martin Delaney said. Okay, and I could probably pull those two up for you guys. But basically, yeah, let me pull up those two because I had to like go through with her in a long talk, you know, about some of the wisdom that our ancestors left you. And what I was telling her ultimately was you got to know how to read. Okay? You got to know how to read so that when you see something, you apply it to your life. You have to look at reading as a practical endeavor. Okay? Skip over, I heard some white boy put it this way. He said do it Jeet Kune Do style, like, I can't remember how to say it, but like Bruce Lee, where you take what's useful and discard the useless. But you look at everything, take what's useful, discard the useless. Okay? So I told her, first I said the Martin Delaney quote, which of course is, whatever liberty is worth to the whites, it is worth to the blacks. Therefore, whatever it costs the whites to obtain it, the blacks will be willing and ready to pay if they desire it. And I said, look, don't even look at it from white and black. Because this is the Jeet Kune Do or whatever, the Bruce Lee, but it's not even just Bruce Lee, it's just common sense. This is intelligence. Okay? This is discernment. Martin Delaney's white-black dichotomy probably doesn't apply in Tanzania, so it's not even that important, right? What's important is you look at it from the dichotomy of this. Instead of saying white and black, say like somebody else and you. So whatever liberty is worth to someone else, it is worth to you. Therefore, whatever it costs someone else to obtain it, you should be willing and ready to pay if you desire it. Okay? That's the mentality you have to take. Whatever liberty is worth to someone else, that's what you have to do. So, again, she's a beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. And, of course, I'm not saying sex sells. I'm not saying show some legs. I'm not saying that. That's trash. What I'm saying is you shouldn't be hiding your pretty face if you have a pretty face. Right? Because there's a number of things that people are interested in when they're looking for a service. One of the things they're interested in is knowing that you're black. One of the things they're interested in might be knowing that you're not Arab, knowing that you're not Indian, knowing that you're not European. One of the things may be that knowing that you're not a man. It could be knowing that you're not a woman. It could be knowing that you're not black. It doesn't matter. The point is, people aren't just looking at a room. Sometimes they are looking to support somebody. Okay? Sometimes, and so the other quote, and I'm not showing you the quotes right now, but the other quote is the Malcolm X quote, which was also really important, where he says, look, anytime you see someone more successful than you are, they are doing something you aren't. Now, again, what she was doing was just showing videos of rooms that she fixed up, right? No sort of price association, no sort of, sometimes not even asking people to contact them, just rooms, no sort of what was the before and after. Okay? So what I said to her, I was like, look, I opened up Instagram. I searched interior design. I found 5 videos, and I sent her those videos. Each of the 5 videos demonstrates something different, okay? But what they show you is they're doing something you're not. Because if she had a video, she didn't really have videos, but if she had videos of interior design, she was playing gospel music, okay? Religious music. And I showed her the 5 top results for Instagram. Nobody's doing gospel music. I showed her a video on camera tricks. Tricks for camera, because I said you got to do some camera transitions. Those are fly, right? Never are these tutorials showing you playing gospel music. But for some reason in her professional life, she decides, look, let me do this gospel music. And I told her, look, because she showed me a video of her like cleaning up a room one time, and I was like, first off, that cleanup room, nobody wants to see that shit. But 2, you're playing gospel music. And what that's telling me is that if I showed up, if I hired you, you'd be playing gospel music while you work in my apartment. I don't want that shit. You got to know when to put that to the side. Right? You got to know when to put that aside. And another thing is, I said, look, you might be trying to appeal to, because we talking about this section where it says, the voluntary support of the wealthy. You might be trying to appeal to some rich Arab. He don't want to hear your gospel music because he's a freaking Muslim, right? You might be trying to appeal to a rich European. Guess what? A rich European don't want to hear your music neither because he's a damn atheist. You understand? He don't want to hear. And look, even if you said, well, he's not really an atheist, you think he want to hear black music? Black gospel? You know any rich white people saying, you know what, let me just sit around and listen to... And I'm not saying there aren't. I mean, because obviously there are some with that weird fetish. But like, real talk, look, what people want, if somebody wants you to clean their house, they don't even want to hear your music. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that, like, of course, there's a video online where this dude came to, I don't know if he was doing, like, cleaning the house or he was doing, like, I don't know what he was doing. I think he was, like, installing cables or something. And then the white people in the house played some hip hop for him. And that's the thing. You know, like, it's like some white people will be sensitive to you, you know? But, and you know, some white people would listen to, you know, your music. You know, I saw some, now they were mentally ill, I ain't gonna hold you. But they started playing some music because I was standing around. It is what it is. But the point being, nobody want to hear your loud Christian music. And then, of course, you say, what about a rich black man? Very unlikely that he wants to listen to your loud Christian music. Now, he might play his loud Christian music. You understand? But the point is that if you're advertising, don't do that. So, of course, the 5 videos, I don't remember them all, you know, in the exact order or whatever. But the top one was some white girl. Mediocre. Mid white girl. Okay? But mid, you know? She had her little makeup. She had her, you know, she put herself together. Okay? She worked at what she had. And she's talking and trying to be helpful and whatever. And yeah, she's a top interior design result on Instagram. I mean, on TikTok. Sorry, on TikTok. Was it TikTok or Instagram? I don't remember. But I think it's TikTok. But on TikTok in America. Okay? The next example was, you know, a house, but they didn't play gospel music. You know, they had a video of the rooms that were looking clean, didn't play gospel music. Then I showed her like a sister. Now the sister the sister worked at what she had. Let me put it that way. Like, I think she was fire, but you know, that's because she worked at what she had, right? And she's showing how she improved, like, you know, how people are appreciating her services and that kind of stuff. And she put black, you know, point is that she was like the 5th highest result. And of course there was like another result that had a before and after. The point being though is that there's a means of propaganda. There's a means of eliciting the voluntary support of the wealthy. And if you don't understand that, if you don't study that, if you don't try to do that, you're probably not going to succeed like the people who do. And I had to tell her that. And so I said to her, look, what about you go and read Propaganda? This book I'm reading right now. Go read Propaganda by Edward Bernays and go read Marcus Garvey. Because Marcus Garvey, because one of the things she told me at some point, because, you know, I told you, she hit me up to get money from me. You know, she hit me up to get money from me. So one of the things I told, at one point I said, you got to do videos and, you know, speak and blah, blah, blah. She goes, but I don't speak English well. And then I got pissed. Okay, I got pissed. Like, why the did you just call me? You're never going to succeed if you don't have confidence in yourself. And that's one of the reasons why you tell people to read Garvey too. You know, because there's multiple reasons. But one, Garvey tells you about elocution, right? He tells you about how to speak better. But two, because Garvey told you if you are not confident with yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. You are defeated. And that's the thing that happened with, and that's why I said I was pissed when this woman told me that. Oh, I don't speak well, therefore. Like, how in the world you expect that when you get this degree or you get this certification that jobs are just going to come in even though you don't know how to fucking, like, you have no confidence in yourself? Are you kidding me? Now, what I did do, because I'm a generous guy, what I did do was I told her, you know, she sent me like a picture of her with like some sort of, you know, award, which would have been like, it would have been a nice award, but, you know, for some reason at that point in time, she had some blemishes on her cheeks. So I told her, look, I'm going to help you get some makeup. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't like makeup. I don't really like makeup, but like if I had a breakout, I mean, me as a guy, well, I don't have those kind of breakouts, but I would cover them up for the film. Because one thing I'll tell you from that white woman, you know, she was not good looking at all, but she was confident. 1, 2, she had really rosy cheeks, and what that tells me is that she was applying makeup on her cheeks, probably to, you know, facilitate some contouring, probably to facilitate some blemishes. Whatever the reasoning, she didn't show up with no blemishes, and that's the key. So my whole thing, I mean, so the reason why I'm even telling the story is because one, I want people to understand that because here's what she said when I told her to read this book. She said, it just seems like it's so much history. It seems like it's so related to America. Seems like it's so, you know, I can't read this. How can you give me a summary? You know? And it's like, no. You have to look at what's being written and then apply it to your life. Try to be practical when you're reading. If something seems useless, just read over it. Skip over it. I mean, like, read it, But don't, try to process it. Don't try to, what, this is 1928, who's this? Don't do that. Just look for something that's relevant. And here's what's relevant here. When they talk about the voluntary support of the wealthy, listen. When they talk about the voluntary support of the wealthy, they are saying, they're talking about a time before the income tax. You, in your countries in Africa, you don't have these income taxes in the same capacity. So if you want the social support, the social services, you might need the voluntary support of the wealthy. Okay? If you want social services in your country where you don't have the income tax going on, or even if you want social services in your country, whatever, you might have to appeal to the voluntary support of the wealthy. And actually, I'll tell y'all this. I have a friend, sister, a real sister. She's helping out black women in particular, dealing with maternal aid and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that she does, or one of the things about her profession or why she was hired or what have you, is that she was doing grant writing. So there's a lot of black people right now who are in social services, okay, who are providing necessary things, whether they be, helping women with maternal, blah, 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 blah. A lot of black people doing stuff, and you know what their whole job is? Writing grants to rich people. And that's also another thing. Like honestly, in a sense, I'll tell you the truth, in a sense, her hitting me up was kind of this, she wanted a social service, she wanted somebody to finance her education. And she was like, hey, I think you're wealthy, but of course I'm not that wealthy. I had the money, but I ain't had the money for her. You know what I'm saying? I had the money, but I ain't had the money for her. But anyway, let me get back into the reading. So it says the greatest enemy of any attempt to change men's habits is inertia, right? Civilization is limited by inertia, so people aren't moving by themselves. Okay, people need agitation. So our attitude towards social relations, toward economics, toward national and international politics continues past attitudes and strengthens them under the force of tradition. Comstock drops his mantle of proselytizing morality on the willing shoulders of Sumner. Well, what's with my reading today? I'm just messing up on every other word. Anyway, Penrose drops his mantle on Butler, Carnegie his on Schwab, and so ad infinitum. Opposing this traditional acceptance of existing ideas is an active public opinion that has been directed consciously into movements against inertia. Public opinion was made or changed formally by tribal chiefs, by kings, by religious leaders. Today, the privilege of attempting to sway public opinion is everyone's role. It is one of the manifestations of democracy that anyone may try to convince others and to assume leadership on behalf of his own thesis. Okay? So new ideas, so basically anybody, like you can change other people's ideas, try to do that. New ideas, new precedents are continually striving for a place in the scheme of things. The social settlement, the organized campaigns against tuberculosis and cancer, the various research activities aiming directly at the elimination of social diseases and maladjustments, a multitude of altruistic activities which could be cataloged only in a book of many pages, have need of knowledge of the public mind and mass psychology if they are to achieve their aims. The literature on social service publicity is so extensive and the underlying principles so fundamental that only one example is necessary here to illustrate the technique of social service propaganda. Oh, what? Negro. Okay. A social service organization undertook to fight lynching. These about to mention black folk, man. It's the NAACP. Okay. Yeah, I told the sister to read this book. So let's see what she gets from this. All right, a social service organization undertook to fight lynching, Jim Crowism, and the civil discriminations against the Negro below the Mason and Dixon line. Right, and so now we call it the Mason-Dixon line, but they say the Mason and Dixon back then. Okay, the Negro. I don't know what the Mason and Dixon is, man. The National Association for the Advancement of the Colored People. The way this man says stuff, man, he's like the Mason and Dixon. That of the colored people, isn't it? Of colored people, I'm pretty sure it's of colored people. Actually, I don't know. I feel like it's of colored people, but of the colored people. All right, let me stop. Okay, had the fight in hand As a matter of technique, they decided to dramatize the year's campaign in an annual convention, which would concentrate attention on the problem. Should it be held in the north, south, west, or east? Since the purpose was to affect the entire country, the association was advised to hold it in the south. For, said the propagandists, a point of view on a southern question emanating from a southern center would have greater authority than the same point of view issuing from any other locality, particularly when that point of view was at odds with the traditional southern point of view. Atlanta was chosen. The third step, I wonder if he mentions my boy Du Bois. I don't like Du Bois, by the way. But anyway, the third step was to surround the conference with people who were stereotypes for ideas that carried weight all over the country. The support of leaders of diversified groups was sought. Telegrams and letters were dispatched to leaders of religious, political, social, and educational groups, asking for their point of view on the purpose of the conference. But in addition to these groups, leaders of national standing, it was particularly important from the technical standpoint to secure the opinions of group leaders of the South, even from Atlanta itself, to emphasize the purposes of the conference to the entire public. There was one group in Atlanta which could be approached. A group of ministers had been bold enough to come out for a greater interracial amity. This group was approached and agreed to cooperate in the conference. The event ran off as scheduled. The program followed the general scheme. Negroes and white men from the South on the same platform expressed the same point of view. A dramatic element was spotlighted here and there. A national leader from the Massachusetts agreed in principle and in practice with a Baptist preacher from the South. If the radio had been in effect, the whole country might have heard and been moved by the speeches and the principles expressed, but the public read the words and the ideas in the press of the country, for the event had been created of such important component parts as to awaken interest throughout the country and to gain support for its ideas even in the South. Now, I want to say this. First off, if I were Du Bois and I was reading this book, I'd be like, damn, imagine me in this. This is a classic book, right? But the other thing is this. You know, a lot of times we do, like I just told you, I don't like Du Bois. And we give Du Bois some hardships, right? But what this person is saying, and it possibly has some weight to it, is that this activism has an impact. Okay? This is, even though U.S. propaganda, the whole book is propaganda, the impact. But he's like, this stuff has an impact. And not just this stuff has an impact, but even this part where it's like, look, Negroes and white men from the South on the same platform express the same point of view, right? That might hold weight too. A lot of times, I'll say this, because a lot of us in the Black conscious movement might be like, you know what, I don't want to hear nothing from no white men. And like me personally, I don't want, like, you would not see me, like, it's very unlikely that you would see me on a podcast with a white man and me and the white man on the same platform agreeing, you know? Of course, if you were debating a white boy and then you tell him he's wrong and he says, you know what, you're right, that's different. But, you know, me and the white boy the same, like, maybe that's a little bit suspect why we have the same point of view. But in the same breath, it probably has a more potent propaganda message. And I think maybe when we look at Du Bois, right, and we say to ourselves, why is he up there with this white boy? Why is he trying to team with these white boys? Why is he blah, blah, blah? Why is he so on and so forth? We're not necessarily seeing the propaganda there. Okay? We're not necessarily seeing the propaganda there. Because, like, you know, sometimes we say, and I don't like these black men with white wives. I do not. I think that's stupid. I think you're doing yourself a major disservice. You know? However, right? At least in the case of Du Bois, and I don't think his wife was white, honestly. She looked like she was just another mulatto. But in the case of Du Bois, what I could say is, you know, it is probably, like, if she were a white woman, it is probably better to do this same platform, same point of view. You know? Because if you just say, you know what, I'm just going to be on the black platform and do my black point of view, the circumstances you have in this country where you are heavily outnumbered, right? People will just look at you as the black point of view, not the right point of view. Now, if I were, like, and again, because you're heavily outnumbered, so when you're heavily outnumbered, you might have to consider what the majority population is thinking. Okay, when you're heavily outnumbered, you might have to consider what the majority population is thinking, and you might say, well, no, I don't ever have to think about what the majority. That's fine for you, but again, if you're trying to get a majority, like if you're trying to get majority support, you might want to consider what the majority population is thinking. You know? So, again, we go back. I don't want to stay on this because I was kind of skipping over it. But it's important, honestly. But the whole purpose here was something along the lines of combating lynching, Jim Crow, and civil discriminations. Okay? Lynching, Jim Crow, and civil discriminations. And you might say, you know what? The best way to combat that is to fight, is to bring war to this white boy. Okay. Yeah, sure. Go. I mean, that is the best way. But the odds of you winning that war, okay, or what you would need to win that war, it might not be. I mean, again, sometimes it's like, what's the best way and what's the easiest way? What's the smartest way? What's the whatever? And unfortunately, again, you have to approach this with realism. What was going to end lynchings in America? Like, basically, I'll put it this way. What happened to the Native Americans? The Native Americans fought to the last man, more or less. Okay? They fought to the last man. They said, you know what? We are about war. And I mean, I'm not saying you can't fight better than Native Americans, because of course you can. I mean, Africa is proof that you can. Africa is proof that you can. No disrespect to the Native Americans, right? Because they fought a good fight. But Africa is also proof that, you know, you could lose. And you could lose big. Okay? So, at some point you say to yourself, well, all right, if I'm not going to fight them, okay, if I'm not going to fight them, how do I stop lynchings, Jim Crowism, and civil discrimination? And you could say, look, I could just speak around with my black folk and say, you know what, lynching is bad, lynching is bad, lynching is bad, and you're not trying to fight them? Okay, well, guess what? You're going to just get lynched. Jim Crow is bad, Jim Crow is bad, Jim Crow is bad. You're not trying to fight them? Well, you're just going to get Jim Crow. Civil discriminations are bad, civil discriminations are bad, civil discriminations are bad, and you're not trying to fight them, well, then you're just going to get civil discrimination. Now, if you're not fighting them, what are you going to freaking do? And so, what the NAACP, again, I don't like them, but it seems like what they're doing is saying, well, we got to somehow we have to somehow convince them that lynching is bad. Because remember, they don't think it's bad because they're doing it. We got to somehow convince them that Jim Crow is bad. They don't think Jim Crow is bad because they're doing it. We got to think civil discrimination is bad. They don't think it's bad because they're doing it. So either they change their mind or they'll continue doing it. And so, what is the most effective way to change their mind? Well, to show them, to propagate them to have a changed mind. To propagate those who disagree. To amplify the voice of the minority among them. So again, I don't necessarily agree with this dude, but I'm saying this might be a different way to look at him. Now, granted, look, he is a traitor, as far as I'm concerned. Du Bois. I think he's the one who did Liberia in. He's the one that went against the UNIA. Okay? And maybe in order to get what he's doing here, he had to. Not that he had to, but, you know, like his short-sightedness might have been whatever. But again, I think we had this conversation yesterday. Make sure you guys check out Shoot the Breeze. It was a really, really, really good episode. And we had my brother Kanjiverse in there. So shout out to Kanjiverse. But, you know, make sure you guys check out Shoot the Breeze. But what I would say is this. We had a conversation. It's like, hey, if you were an African American, would you go for Africa or would you go for America? And everybody knows you go for America. And the reason, and again, this is what the NAACP is about. The NAACP is about ending lynchings in America. Not ending lynchings around the world. Lynchings in America. Jim Crow in America. Not Jim Crow around the world. Jim Crow in America. Civil discriminations in America. Not civil discriminations around the world. Civil discriminations in America. It's about America. And so Black Lives Matter, you know, a child of the NAACP, right? Is about America. Plain and simple. And of course, you know, as long as you are in America, I understand that you are pro-American. And if you're really anti-American, then get out of America. Don't make no damn sense to be there because if they don't lock you up, maybe you're not anti-American enough. You more pro-American than you think. I'll put it that way. If they don't lock you up, because there are people who get locked up, there are people who get fired, people who lose their jobs. Why? Because they really about it. They on that time. And if you walking around, it's like Secretary said. I think it was Secretary. He said, "Look, if the enemy is not doing anything against you, it's because you're not doing anything against the enemy." You know what I'm saying? If you're not, you're not. If I really, like, for instance, me personally, I try to avoid doing shit in America. See, because the reality is, if I was really against this military-industrial complex while I was here, they'd lock me up. I know that. I know that for a fact. Bit of Medicine's here. He said, greetings, Bit of Medicine. So he said the event ran off as scheduled, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's go back to this. If the radio had been in effect, okay, people read, blah, blah. The editorials in the Southern press, reflecting the public opinions of their communities, showed that the subject had become one of interest to the editors because of the participation by Southern leaders. You see what I'm saying? He's like, the thing is this. You could always just have only black people talking about only black issues and so on and so forth. But if you're trying to appeal to the majority population, which are white people, and this is something we have to emphasize. Oh, sorry, I didn't read this part, so let me try to this one. But one of the things we have to emphasize is that even though you might say, well, I think there are, some people tell you there's 40 million African Americans. Some people say, no, it's not 40 million. They're lying to us. It's 50 million. Okay, it's 50 million. How many white Americans are there? 330 million. 330 million. The United States is the largest white population on the planet. On the planet. It is the epicenter of white dominance. It is the epicenter of white power. Just by population numbers. There is no country in Europe, no single country in Europe with a larger white population. Off of numbers. America, on top of that, has the most amount of billionaires on the planet, particularly white billionaires on the planet. Okay? Most amount of billionaires, most amount of white billionaires. Okay? It has probably the highest industrial capacity. It is also the either second or third largest country on the planet. Landmass wise, surface area wise. Okay? It is the epicenter for white power. You have no reason to be in its borders. I mean, you could be in its borders, but you are very, 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 very unsafe. Okay? You are very unsafe. I'll just put it that way. Or even this. Let's not even say that. You have very limited avenues for power, real power, or freedom. I'm telling you guys right now, when I hit the shores of Africa, I'm going to be a free man. Like whatever description of freedom that you know, that's going to apply to me. Okay, that's going to apply to me. One of the things I like about myself, besides my trapezoids is lit. But my traps is like, yeah. But one of the things I like about myself is the fact that, man, I really got that freedom. I don't know if you guys ever see I know you guys saw it. Roots. Good movie. Or a good TV series or whatever, right? Reason why I like that series, though, is that there's this one point in time when, I think it's Chicken George. Chicken George, he has a wife. His wife is still enslaved. She's on the plantation. Chicken George tries to visit her. They tell him, look, you can visit her, but for 3 days. And after the 3 days, you got to go and you can't come back. Because, that's the laws. The law says that you can't, like, if you stay within 3 days on a plantation, you become a slave or some shit like that. I don't know. But that was the law, apparently. Who cares, right? That's not who cares, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, okay, right? So Chicken George says, okay. He lays down with his wife and he's like, look, sorry, babe, I can't stay. And she goes, it's okay. This is my favorite scene. She goes, it's okay. Because I'm married to a free man. You know what I'm saying? And That's how you're supposed to live life. You know, that's how you're supposed to live life. And, you know, shout out to Brother Tyler. He was pointing out to me. He said, Brother McCarty said, bless up, bless up. But shout out to Brother Tyler. He was telling me, hey, you got to hook up with these Americans for it. I was like, look, man. I didn't say look, man, like that. But, you know, I was like, thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I wouldn't have freedom. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I put it out on Instagram. I said, he who feeds you controls you. So if you feed yourself, you control yourself. And that's my whole plan. Like, what I plan to do right now, I'll tell you guys right now. I mean, it's a little bit tangent. But I'm going to Africa. Okay? I'm going to Africa. And I'm going to live, let's just do some imaginary numbers. And of course, it's not a lot of money. And my thing is this. I could always, like, sometimes I have some work coming in, and that's good. You know? And so that's enough for the year. But my point is this, though. I could set up a situation. Listen to me. I could set up a situation where, let's say, my cost of living is $100 a month. Okay? Now, this is not exact numbers, but I'm going to point it out. I'll set up a situation where my cost of living is $100 a month. And then I could set up a situation where I have businesses that bring in $400 a month. And again, you might be like, hey, man, that's baby money. $400 a month, that's nothing. No. You got to pay attention to what I just said. The cost of living goes down to $100. And the earning goes up to $400. And you might say, well, you can't do shit with that. No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be free. You understand? And because this earning is going to be passive earning. Okay, passive earning. Now, of course, you could always, when you get more money, you could always, you know, multiply the money bigger. And of course, again, like, this is baby money, and you know, obviously, I work my own job, and you know, I could whatever. But my point is this: that's what you should be like. That was the whole basis of slavery. I'll put it that way. That was the whole basis of our enslavement. It was to find a way to get a passive income for these plantation owners, and other people are working. Now, you might say, well, you don't want to compare yourself to you paying people. You're not enslaving people. The point being that you want to get a passive income to exceed your expenses, your living expenses, and then continually grow your savings so that you can actually do some bigger things with your life. You know? Because, you know, that $400 a month, like I told you guys, I mean, obviously, if I work a month, you know, I'm going to make way more than fucking $400. You know what I'm saying? But the point is to cut into your lifestyle so that you don't have to work. Or you could do whatever work you want to do. So that you could be a free man. See, because freedom is worth something too. And what I was what I was thinking, it was like, hey, you know, if I were to work with, you know, you could work with America, yeah, you could work with America, but then they're gonna scrub your internet, they're gonna scrub your social media, they're gonna scrub your contacts, they're gonna scrub everything you say, they're gonna scrutinize you, they're gonna make sure. What they're going to do if you work with America, okay, is take from you, or is limit what you can do, because now they're feeding you. But when you feed yourself, I'm telling you, suddenly you don't have to. And I mean, yeah, whatever you're going to be able to accomplish might be a little bit smaller for now. But over time, no, it will be greater. Because you could have all the money. Like I told you guys, I didn't tell you guys this yet, but I was, one time I was waiting for this bus to go upstate. And I bumped into this Mexican guy, right? Mexican guy, he looked like a white boy, but Mexican guy, and he was same age as me, right? But he lived a good life. Okay, Mans was a politician at one point in Mexico. He was a big shot lawyer in Mexico. Corrupt. You know, he was telling me about the corruption he did, right? And boy was rich. Okay? Now, if you don't know how to do anything with your money, like he was getting money. He was getting money from drug dealers and gangbangers and killers. You know, hitmen were his clients, right? And people wanted to kill him. People didn't want to, you know, whatever. Point is this, he escapes eventually. You know, he has to run away because, you know, it's unsafe, right? And even though he had a lot of money, guess what? He had no savings. So of course he had his fancy this, fancy that, beautiful woman, blah blah blah. He had no savings, and so what? You know what happens afterwards is that the man has nothing. He's now doing like manual labor. Okay? Like cleaning up yards and shit. From being a lawyer. And so one of the principles is that, money is not everything. What you want to do is be free, be safe, propagate, continue your life, leave your kids with something, and you're good. Now, I do think you should absolutely try to get your wealth, but not to the point where you're depending on some state entity, some foreign state entity that's really a terrorist state, America. So there's a lot to it. But what I'm saying is, and I don't remember why I'm coming to this, but what I'm saying is that, like I said, like here, right here. If you're in America, you have to appeal to the majority. You have to appeal, and that has its limits. There are only so many things that the majority is going to go along with, and one of them isn't black liberation. Okay? One of them isn't black nationalism. And that's probably why, if you want to be down with the progression of black Americans in America, you have to be against black nationalism and black liberation. Okay? Because the majority is not going to go for it. And the majority is going to want to use you to go against it. So me personally, I say, look, you know what? Because I want black nationalism, I'm going to go to a black nation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that simple. And because I want freedom, I'm going to take the pay cut. I'm going to take the pay cut. Okay? Sure, I can make way more money in America. Absolutely. But I will never be free. I'll never be free. And that's the difference. So he said the editorials in the Southern press reflecting the public opinion of, I could be rich, but that's it. The editorials in the Southern press reflecting the public opinion of their communities showed that the subject had become one of interest to the editors because of the participation by Southern leaders. For the event had been created of Southern important parts, yeah. So Southern leaders took the interest. And Southern leaders basically means Southern white people. Because he would have said Negro. The event naturally gave the association itself substantial weapons with which to appeal to an increasingly wider circle. Further publicity was attained by mailing reports, letters, and other propaganda to selected groups of the public. As for the practical, and again, selected groups of the public. You have these philosophies, these ideas, right? Who are you contacting? Remember, anybody who has more success than you, they're doing something you're not doing. This is the behind the scenes as to why the NAACP is still the biggest organization for black people in America 100 years later. This was written in 1928. NAACP had got its surge in popularity, right? From doing this bold action. And then to this day, and what are they doing? They are sending it to selected groups of the public so that when you go to the public fool system, because we all heard about the NAACP in the public fool system. When you go into the public fool system, you hear about the NAACP. Why? Because they wrote a report or whatever, and somehow they made it into the history book. And a lot of the other groups, a lot of the other contemporary groups didn't. Like, I just told you guys about Martin Delany. Martin Delany's not in the history books that deeply. Maybe 2 or 3 lines. In fact, I showed you guys. It's in the Book of Power. I have a quote from my own history book, literally taken from the history book that I studied when I was in high school or wherever school I was in, elementary school, I don't know, but whatever school I was in, because I had those textbooks lying around, right? That book has 3 lines on Marcus Garvey. And one of the lines is, oh, he was just trying to deceive his people. Oh, he was just a Jamaican trying to get people to leave. That's it. Because they get into the book. And this is one of the most potent and significant black lives are in the history of the United States of America. And he gets 3 lines in a history book. Okay? 3 lines in a history book. Because you have to write to selected groups of people. Okay? You know, sometimes, like, because say what you will, you know, you open up a Walter Maya video, for instance, right? And it's probably more significant to be an ad in front of Walter Maya's video than it is to be an ad in front of mine. And not because Walter Maya is this or that or what have you. It's just you gotta know who the selected groups of people to the public to contact are. You know? As for the practical, let me see the comments. No comments. All right. So as for the practical results, the immediate one was a change in the minds of many Southern editors who realized that the question at issue was not only an emotional one, but also a discussable one. Okay? The immediate one was to change in the minds of many Southern editors who realized that the question... So now you could hold discussion on it. And the point of view was immediately reflected to their readers. Further results are... And again, so it's like lynching is not an emotional thing. You know? But something you could discuss. And sometimes we look at these and we're like, why are you discussing this? Why are you so on and so forth? And it's like, no, there's a method to the madness. You know, what was it? So white people don't want reparations. The biggest effort for reparations right now, I think it's called HR 40 or something like that. HR 40 basically is not reparations. It is, let's discuss reparations. Okay? Let's discuss reparations. And a lot of black people are looking at it and saying, why the hell would you do that? No, just give me my money. Just cut the check. Just cut the check. Right? But what this book is telling you is that even though, because a lot of times black people talk about that. You know, you hear like, you just come to mind, a lot of black people saying how many times, like, you got Martin, you got James Farmer, you got Malcolm X, you got Martin Luther King Jr. I think all of them, I don't know. But some of them might have said something like, how long are we going to discuss civil rights? Why can't they just do it? Just do the civil rights. Why do we have to discuss it? And it's like, no. What this guy is telling you is actually, you need to first have some sort of discussion. And really, it reminds me of a portion in my book. So, in the Pro-Black Compendium or in Uangalifu, you'll find a section about how to be charming. And one of the things is this. You gotta ease people in. I know it sounds contradictory. No, you shouldn't ease people in. You should just do the right thing. No, you gotta ease people in. You have to make people believe that they came up with some idea. Okay? You have to make people believe that they came up with some idea and that you're not just doing it. It's like this war in whatever. Or like the war in Iraq. They convinced the public. Like they didn't just go to war, they convinced the public. Now the war in, they just did it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't bother to convince you, they just did it. But and of course there's like a big pushback on that, right? But the whole thing is that you have to, and the example that I usually use is the example between men and women. You gotta convince her to have sex with you. You know what I mean? And you can't be mad if she doesn't just have sex with you as soon as she meets you. You can't be mad about it. You gotta have a discussion. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a discussion. And of course, you might say, well, how long are we gonna be discussing it? Okay. But did you have a discussion? Did you have a discussion? And that's the big question. When you have this, like let's say Malcolm X saying, "Hey man, how long are we going to discuss civil rights?" Well, like, who did you discuss it with? Who did you discuss it with? Did you discuss it with the administration? That's the question. Did you discuss it with the white power structure? That's the question. And it's possible you did it. Honestly, it's possible that you thought about it. It's possible that you've spoken into the air, but it's not. It's very. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm siding with these people. I'm just, discussing the logic here. And again, you just want to read this to just pick up on what's going on. Because, again, like I said, like in my point of view, me personally, I've never discussed anything with white people. You know what I mean? Like, I've never done it. And so, kind of reminds me of this Marcus Garvey quote where he says, you can't hold people accountable for something you didn't teach them. Right? But even more so, it's like, realistically, I could kind of see, you know, the practicality here. I could kind of see the practicality here. You're beginning a discussion. You know? Because one thing you're going to realize is that a lot of things are emotional. You know? I was looking at this lecture, looking at this conversation between these two brothers, right? And one of the brothers said, you know, America is really like a colony for black people because, you know, it has a heavy police force. Like black people are policed just like any colony is policed. And the truth is this. What you just said, what that guy just said, wouldn't make any real sense in a real conversation. It's very emotional in the sense of there's no logic to it. Of course black people are policed if they're in America. Everybody's policed. You know what I'm saying? like everybody's policed in a Western society. You know what I mean? There's nobody who's not policed. You know? So why would black people not be policed? Is the bigger question. Because, you know, the entire argument was, because, you know, it's because we're in a colony, that's why we're policed. It's like, no, it's because you're in the freaking West that you're policed. The West polices everybody. So if you would have a discussion with a Western leader and say, you know, what we want is for you guys to no longer police us, they'll tell you, well, we can't. Like, what would that mean? What does it mean if you're no longer policed? And you say, well, you just let us police ourselves. Okay, what does that mean that you'll police yourself? Right? What does that mean you'll police yourself? And then you say, well, how about you give us the resources so that we can police ourselves? And it's like, well, okay, why are we giving you resources to police yourself? And that's where the conversation kind of like, what? What are you asking me? You're asking me not to police you. You're asking me to allow you to police yourselves. And you're asking me to give you resources to police yourself. Now, why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? That's where you have to sit down and have a real discussion. Why would I give you resources to police yourself? And like it doesn't make any sense. And so what laws are you going to follow? Well, we'll follow the laws that we write for ourselves. Okay. So if you're going to follow your own laws, how would I know? Like, but you're in my borders? No, we're not in your borders anymore. We're our own separate nation. Okay, so you're your own separate nation, but I'm giving you resources to police yourselves and write your own laws. He's like, yeah, well, you tax us. You can't tax us neither. We shouldn't be taxed. Okay, so I'm not taxing you, and instead, I'm not taxing you. I don't get anything from you anymore, and I'm going to make you police yourself and write your own laws. And you're going to get resources for your own government from me. And you're going to work for yourselves and you're not going to give me anything for it. And why would I do this? You know? And, you know, your argument might be, well, it's the right thing to do. You know, self-determination. I should be self-determining. Okay. Right? And again, somebody's going to say, well, why would I give up this land for you? You know? Why would I give the land I stole for you? I stole it from the Native Americans. Okay? I'm talking about white people. I, as a white person, stole this land from Native Americans. Now you want me to get off of this land and give it to you and then pay you. And then you go about living your life and setting up, you know, your alliances with foreign nations. You know, you're not beholden to me in anything and all that kind of stuff. Now, why would I go along with this? You know, and this is why I'll tell you personally, this is why I say I withdraw from America. And I withdraw from the American black nationalism. You know, because if you, because obviously I would never have a discussion with a white person. I don't want to say never. I don't want to say never, but, you know, I don't really have discussions with white people. But the reality is that sometimes you sit back and you say to yourself, I do not understand what black people want from white people. I don't understand. But if what you want is freedom from white people, then just leave America. Okay? Because you're not going to get freedom otherwise. I mean, unless the only way to get freedom otherwise is if you were to take your fight to the biggest white country on the planet. And unfortunately, I haven't seen you guys fighting them. You know? I haven't seen you guys fighting them. Sorry, so let me see the comments. Brother Bakari says, you haven't about our needs to have to be organized. Yep, you have to be organized. You have to be organized. You always talk about drinking. What did I talk about drinking, man? When did I talk about drinking, man? Oh no, I don't know. What? Wait, did I say something about drinking? No, I mean, yeah, if you talking to a woman, yeah, I'm saying you can talk to a woman, you gotta have a discussion, yeah, for sure. But anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much it. The point of view was immediately reflected to the readers. So further results are hard to measure with a slide rule. The conference had its definite effect in building up the racial consciousness and solidarity of the Negroes. Okay? And again, you see the done Negroes, right? The decline in lynching is very probably a result of this and other efforts of the association. So, again, I don't necessarily just put it on them, but I do also. Like, you got to give them some credit. Now, of course, Garvey was against it. Ida B. Wells was against it and all that kind of stuff. But the NAACP was also against it. And they also did help with the racial consciousness and solidarity of black folk. Now, of course, they were also against it, but it is what it is, right? So many churches have made paid advertising and organized propaganda part of their regular activities. They have developed church advertising committees which make use of the newspaper and the billboard as well as the pamphlet. Many denominations maintain their own periodicals. The Methodist Board of Publication and Information systematically gives announcements and releases to the press and the magazine. Now, it's kind of like what McCarthy was saying about us not being organized. The church has been organized. I'm not sure if my mother was a part of I'm not sure if she was a Methodist. I think she was a Baptist. But the point is that I remember at one point she brought us, she was like, come to this conference with me, this church conference or whatever, right? And sure enough, there are Baptist church conferences where even though you have a pastor who's a black man, right? And I think he might have been a Jamaican man, honestly, right? My pastor. He would then go to the Baptist conference and he'd have to take a back seat to the people higher than him, who, if I'm not mistaken, some of them might have been white. Now, I don't remember because it was so long ago and I wasn't even paying attention, but, it was church. But like, yeah, they have a system for organizing. So, you might show up at the church and you see the story that I'm giving you guys. Like, the pastor would give kind of stories like that too. He'd be like, yeah, back in Jamaica, he would do blah, 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 and blah, 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 right? But of course, he would collect money. You know what I'm saying? But the point is that, and of course, you relate it back to the Bible and all that kind of stuff. But overall, though, you would also have a bigger and wider conference that has its own, propaganda effect too. But in a broader sense, the very activities of social service are propaganda activities. A campaign for the preservation of the teeth seeks to alter people's habits in the direction of more frequent brushing of teeth. A campaign for better parks seeks to alter people's opinion in regards to the desirability of taxing themselves for the purchase of park facilities, right? A campaign against tuberculosis is an attempt to convince everybody that tuberculosis can be cured, that persons with certain symptoms should immediately go to the doctor, and the like. A campaign to lower the infant mortality rate is an effort to alter the habits of mothers in regards to feeding, bathing, and caring for their babies. Social service, in fact, is identical with propaganda in many cases. Now, this is actually pretty interesting right here, because a lot of times we associate infant mortality rate with black people, right? They say black people have a lot larger infant mortality rate. But it's interesting because at this point in time, that's not the argument, right? And the argument is here that the habits of the mother in regards to feeding, bathing, and caring for their babies has an impact on the infant mortality rate. Now, I don't know the case for that, but I could say that there is, I think it was the SIDS, they call it, sudden infant death. And there is this, there was something that the doctors would tell us. Like, I think when you're early in your, when a woman's early in her pregnancy, she and hopefully her partner would talk to a doctor. And the doctor would tell you, don't sleep in the same bed as the kid, because that can cause the baby to die. And also to watch the kid as they sleep. just in case, it could cause a certain death. So it's like, even though, infant mortality rate and of course maternal mortality are not necessarily, just on the part of the mothers or what have you, there is a matter of effort. And so, and there is a campaign to lower infant mortality rate by, kind of informing new parents what not to do, which is one of those things that I was definitely aware of. So even those aspects of social service which are governmental and administrative rather than charitable and spontaneous depend on wise propaganda for their effectiveness. Professor Harry Elmer Barnes, in his book The Evolution of Modern Penology, what the fuck is that, in America, states that improvements in penological administration in that state are hampered by political influences. So I'm hoping he means penal, like Penal. I don't know. I'm not even gonna look it up. But I'm looking at the comments. No comments. All right. So I'm thinking he's talking about prisons, right? But maybe he's talking about the penis. I don't know. No, I think penis is urology. I don't know. All right. States the improvement in penological. What the fuck is penological administration? I don't know. Penal. All right. In the state are hampered by political influences. I'm guessing it means penal. I think they just spelled it with an A at that point. So the legislature, with the O at that point instead of an A. So the legislature must be persuaded to permit the utilization of the best methods of scientific penology, and for this there is necessary development of an enlightened public opinion. Until such a situation has been brought about, Mr. Barnes states, progress in penology is doomed to be sporadic, local, and generally ineffective. Yeah, okay, prisons. You see? I was like, what is he talking about? I'm like, yo, what is this? What? What? The solution of prison problems, then, seems to be fundamentally a problem of conscientious and scientific publicity. So, I didn't really understand this paragraph, because I'm just like, what the fuck? Penis administration? Like, what the fuck is he talking about? Political influence? Like, what? Like, what is penological? But I guess this with an A, which kind of tells you, get spelling correct. Now, of course, this might be the correct spelling. I have no idea. But I always, I've only seen Penal. So, it's a little bit weird. So he says, social progress is simply the progressive education and enlightenment of the public mind in regards to its immediate and distant social problems. So again, social progress is simply the progressive education and enlightenment of the public mind in regard to its immediate and distant social problems. So, when you say to yourself, well, why are these trannies in front of me? Why are these queers, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, that's like the whole point is to change your mind about things. And for what it's worth, our minds have been sufficiently changed. Our minds have been changed on these matters, because if you went back 30 years ago, if you went back 30 years ago, people were not, like, this was not a thing. Like, these things that we see today were not things at all. And I guess that's the whole chapter. So I thank everybody for your time. I think I might do the next chapter, but not on this broadcast. I think I did a long tangent, but it is what it is. So appreciate everybody for coming through, stopping by. And yeah, as soon as I'm in Tanzania, I'll let you guys know. All right, Shalom Hotep, Uncle Jah, Saneb Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Dua, Nature.